Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Craig. It's a fine Monday morning, and I don't know what it's like where you are, but here it's starting to look and feel a lot like Christmas. You know, it's the kind of that nip in the air. It's kind of get a little cold. You know, starting to feel like you see all the Christmas shopping and everyone's starting to finally get their lights up and everything. We're now fully kind of into the month of December, and it's time to start thinking about once again the holiday season and family and children. Which leads me to today's topic. There was an article that was up a couple of weeks back on CNN, on CNN.com, and it was really kind of interesting. It was an opinion piece that basically asked this question: do gun owners love their guns more than they love our children? Or rather, do we gun owners love our guns more than we love our children? And, it's kind of, I guess it's kind of sad because when you see CNN, which is supposed to be about reporting the news, allows an opinion piece to be posted that's basically a bunch of left-wing liberal dribble, which I kind of expect from them. But to note that it is so full of information that is inaccurate and not based on the facts, I kind of felt like I just had to say something. I mean, let me just give you this for example. So one of the things that she wrote, she says, in the U.S., we alone bear the burden of this fear. Of the 23 richest nations in the world, according to a 2011 study, we now have 87% of the gun violence, and according to the Journal of Trauma, Injury, Infection, and Critical Care, 87% of children killed by guns are killed here. Well, that's interesting. So I decided to dig a little bit deeper into the numbers. And I actually found an article that was in Newsweek that talked about the number of firearms fatalities with children. They actually studied it and what the leading causes were. One of the things that they noted was that from the study that they did from 2012 to 2014, they determined that about 1,297 children die annually from gun-related injuries. All right, now, based on that, they noted that 53% of the gun-related deaths were homicides, 38% were suicides, and 6% were unintentional. So, first of all, let's just go back real quick. So, first of all, we're going to talk about 1,297. So, we're going to basically about 1,300 children. Now, how many firearms do you think there are in the entire United States? Go ahead, throw a number out there. Actually, studies have shown that it's somewhere between 270 million to 310 million firearms are owned. More than one third of all Americans say they live in a household with where someone owns at least one firearm. But yeah, it's estimated that it's up to 310 million firearms. And by the way, those are probably just the ones we legally know about. I happen to believe that there are a lot more of them out there, but those are just the firearms that we know about. So I'm guessing that if 1,300 out of 310 million firearms are involved in a fatal shooting of a child. Now, once again, every child life, any child life is sacred and precious, and we ought to protect it. But let us understand that we're talking about an infinitesimal amount of when you consider the number of firearms and the number, by the way, of firearm owners that there are out there. But the other thing to look at is let's take a look at, once again, when we look at 53% of these gun-related deaths were homicides. All right, these are homicides, right? Meaning that. Once again, we're not talking about irresponsible gun ownership. We're talking about people who went out with the intention of doing harm to somebody. So is the issue the gun, or is the issue the individual who's desiring to commit homicide? Now, if we are talking about the idea of irresponsible gun ownership, well, now we're looking at about, what does it say here? 6%? 6% of all gun deaths for children, basically about 13, we're talking about 1,300 total, 6% of that. Once again, an infinitesimal amount, which by the way, is a significant improvement. meaning that we are doing a much better job of educating people on how to be a responsible gun owner, how to make sure that you are protecting and preparing your children or youth to make sure that they are not the victim of a gun accident, of an accident with a firearm. So I don't know what this lady is talking about, but hey, we'll continue on. She had more to say. She also went on to say, we live in a country where we do not even allow the CDC to study gun violence as the epidemic it is. Where we cannot pass the simplest ban on automatic rifles, and where the Air Force fails to keep guns out of the hands of someone it itself noticed was abusive. Where men with a history of abusive behavior again and again go on public rampages. So, the interesting thing about this particular point is this. So let's break down some of the things she said. So first of all, she says that CDC is not allowed to study it as the epidemic it is. Understand that the CDC has a budget of billions of dollars. They can decide to study whatever it is they want to study. They have chosen not to study firearm violence because of two reasons. One, because they're not given specific money amongst the billions of dollars that they can choose, where they can choose to study whatever they want. They have not chosen to study it because, well, we won't give them additional money. Why? Because probably it's not the epidemic that people want to make it out to be. But also probably because it's not really health related, is it? It's really not a health issue. They want to treat it like a disease. They want to treat people utilizing firearms instead of studying criminology, instead of treating it like an issue relating to crime. They want to treat it like an epidemic, like a disease. Right. Okay. Which by the way is the problem. The other thing is that they are not allowed to advocate. That's the only thing. And you'll hear people talk about, oh, well, because they're banned from studying it. No, they're banned from advocating, from being able to utilize the resources and the studies that they bring forth to advocate for gun control, period, or gun restrictions. That is the limitation that is placed upon them, period. And yet, oh well. Anyway, so that's the problem with that. But then let's get into this whole, where you have people going on rampages. Once again, that's a behavioral thing. That has nothing to do with guns. Whether or not someone chooses to go on a rampage is one thing, right? But you want to blame the gun for what the individual decided to do. And how do you do that? We'll say we're going to ban automatic weapons. Well, guess what? Owning automatic weapons is already banned. You already cannot, as an individual without an assault weapons permit, be able to go out and purchase an automatic weapon. So once again, the lady has absolutely no idea of what she speaks. But that doesn't keep CNN from giving her a platform. But wait, there's more. So here she says, I am tired of treating white male domestic abusers who massacre people as some kind of unsolvable problem. I can only believe that for now, at least, we are a country who keeps loving our guns more than we love our children. All right, so let's get back to where gun violence happens or who commits gun violence, and then let's take a look at that. So first of all, the number of incidents of gun violence that are these mass shootings, first of all, represent a very, very small percentage of all gun-related crimes. Very small percentage. But let's go a little bit further. Last I checked, the shooter in Orlando was not a white male abuser. Last I checked, the shooting in San Bernardino was not a white male. I mean, all I'm saying is that to sit back and say, and we're going to blame, white males for massacres and for gun violence, it doesn't float with the numbers, especially when you consider the fact, as is noted, in that Newsweek article that I mentioned earlier, it points out that a significant number of these things are actually boys were responsible. So we're talking about children. All right, 82% of gun-related deaths were children. 82%. And African-American young men unfortunately tended to be the greatest percentage or the greatest purveyors of gun violence against other children. My point is that, once again, you just want to make this, and here's the thing. What it comes down to is this, is they want to make this a white male conservative issue. And the fact is, it's a people issue, but it's about all people, right? It's about, let's at least not blame, let's not blame one segment of society when this is something that goes into, well, it goes into the group that you would then turn around and say are the victims. What I'm saying is that we have an issue. We have an issue in our urban inner cities. We have an issue with fatherlessness, with broken families. We have an issue where there's a lack of respect for life. We're raising up a generation that does not respect themselves or their own life, let alone the lives of others. If you want to fix a problem, fix that. But in the meantime, don't take away my right to be able to defend myself and my family simply because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Anyway, that's my 2 cents for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to Coffee with Craig. Please remember to like and share these videos. Let everybody know that FPC is the home in the fight for civil rights. We got to use them. We're going to lose them.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.